Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever, wherever you're listening to this show. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, British by birth, American by choice, welcoming you to episode 275 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you from what some people like to call Flyover country. Yes, I'm in the Patrick Come Lately mobile studio at the moment, and just outside London. London, Kentucky, that is. Yes, no, I'm not across the pond. I'm not at home. But, yes, in London, Kentucky. For those of you that don't know your geography, London, Kentucky is a small town about an hour, maybe less than that, north of the Cumberland Gap, which is a famous feature that obviously played a major part in history, as it was one of the main ways that the people were able to leave the West Coast and to start the migration into the heartland of the USA. And of course this is what happened, and where we're staying right now is where one of the main roads, or in those, well, they weren't really roads, but the trail that was in place going north through the Cumberland Gap and then on into Kentucky. And we're staying at a state park that celebrates some of that. There are other things to visit around here where some of the original settlers who moved up here. But a very interesting part of the country to be in, and just the idea that some of the paths that we walk here in this state park, where they commemorate these settlers in the very early beginnings of Kentucky and obviously of the United States. Over 200,000 people walked those same trails that we'll be walking. So very kind of interesting to be here, and weather's been a little interesting as well. If you have seen the news today, for those of you that are listening live, you will have seen that there's been a lot of flooding here in Kentucky, probably quite close to here. We have seen some floods. In actual fact, one of the attractions we wanted to see, a water mill, right now is kind of an island standing up out of a lake of water as the river has risen up to up the steps to basically almost to the door of this old water mill. I hope that it doesn't rise any further and cause any damage. We did have a bit more rain this evening, but this was rain that fell yesterday, and other places you could see as well, lots of water flowing, and people out there with digging machines, etc., trying to make sure that they get things sorted out with all this water coming down. We've been on the road now for about 5 days, and as we drove up here, we've been trying to avoid the interstates as much as possible. We've been driving through all the small towns along long forgotten highways in many cases. On the one hand, we've been reminded as we drive along what a beautiful country this is. We went through the North Georgia mountains into North Carolina, then into Tennessee, and then finally here in Kentucky. You drive through the mountains, through rolling hills, lush forests. We appreciate how the original settlers must have seen this as a bountiful land, a land full of opportunity, and obviously why they went here. And many paid the price. In the state park here, there is a small cemetery where in, let's see, what was it, 3rd of October 1780, I think, or something. Oh no, 1774. I think it was probably just before independence. A group of people came up through the Cumberland Gap. They had banded together for safety's sake. They came up and they were up this far north of the Cumberland Gap, had camped probably for the night or for a day or two, and had not set any guards, and the Native Americans came in and massacred them, and they're all buried here now. So you see, they did pay the price. But why were they prepared to pay such a price? Well, because they saw this land as being full of opportunity. And like I said, as you drive through it and you look and you think, especially in those days, how when it was not developed at all, how they must have really thought, oh, you know, we can do so much with it. But today, as we drove through it, and especially on these byways that we drove on, so getting off the major highways, definitely getting off the interstates as much as possible, we also saw the effects of 6 years and more mismanagement of the economy. In town after town after town, main streets full of shuttered stores, empty parking lots, and empty buildings falling into disrepair. Very disheartening to see that a country with such possibilities, and you know, each state as we go through and you see all the tourist capabilities, everything going on that they could be doing, and yet all these stores, holiday-related business, vacation-related businesses, so many of them are shuttered, and if they're not closed down, obviously in a bad condition, not making a lot of money. It is just so saddening to see that. So we need a new administration. We need an administration that is supported by a legislator that will work towards creating an environment that allows businesses to create jobs. Note that I'm not saying that the administration should create jobs. We have to remember, governments do not create jobs. Governments create the environment that allows businesses to create jobs. And these are not part-time jobs, not burger flipping jobs. Although, let's be honest, there is a place for burger flipping, especially for those just entering the workforce. But we need to create real jobs that allow people to support themselves, support their family, and not be forced to accept government handouts. Will we get that? I don't know. It's up to you, voters of America. You have to help us make sure that we get the right administration coming in and doing what they need to do to allow America to be great again, and to allow Middle America, the heartland, flyover country, to have a resurgence and be able to exist in a proper way that they deserve. So I'm looking forward. We're going to be on the road for a little bit longer as well. Looking forward to reporting about other parts of the country. But like I said, for the moment up here in Kentucky. And I have to say, of the 4 states, so going from Georgia to North Carolina to Tennessee to Kentucky, it is really saddening to see that Kentucky is probably the worst off in terms of just the overall, looking around the overall level, the most businesses closed down. I mean, you drive along these small highways and gas stations, stores, you name it, everything seems to be closed down, and more so than in the other states that we pass through. Now, maybe we were just lucky and we went through areas that weren't so bad, but here in Kentucky, it's been pretty bad. And not to say it's all bad, and there is hope for the future, but it would be nice, I think, to allow this middle class America to resurge again, and for that we need the right administration. And like I said before, folks, it's up to you. You have to help us get that right administration in there. Like to say hi to my listeners in the chat room. I see that Rex, Paul, and Mary are there, and if just quickly reading the chat room there. Am I coming to Ohio? I'm afraid not. Probably it's a little bit out of our way, Mary. Right now we're on our way to Milwaukee. Have to end up in Milwaukee, so we're probably going to go up through Indiana and then cut across, obviously, into Illinois and then up to Wisconsin. I have to be in Wisconsin in exactly a week's time. I'm going to the national meeting of the Oldsmobile Club of America. Regular listeners will know that about a year ago I acquired a 1951 Oldsmobile, and although it's not coming with me this time, I did want to go and see what the national meeting is like, as I'm as my local chapter is organizing next year's one down in Tennessee, and so I wanted to get a feel of what's going to be going on there. So we're taking this opportunity, kind of meander up, and like I said, end up, so we've got another 7 days to end up in Milwaukee. And so we'll spend another, I think, 3 days, 4 days in Indiana, probably, maybe, or depending on the weather, because we've had some bad weather, we will move up to Wisconsin and maybe spend a couple of days there. Mary was mentioning Kentucky is cold country, and I think that's probably part of the contribution to why things are so bad here, because of course dear leader has decreed that coal is bad, and so that's definitely not helping things. We'll see. Anyway, for the moment, that's kind of where we are. Let's. I want to move on to a couple of other quick topics. And Rex reminded me that Jade Helm starts tomorrow, and he mentioned that there in Nevada, lots of trucks pulling out, so things moving. Be interesting to see what's going on, folks. If you can, see what you can post on Facebook. I may be on the road. It's about the easiest way for me to look at things is through Facebook. So if you see things going on, please go to my page, post there, and let me know. Just search for Patrick Come Lately and then post there. Be interesting to hear. Put it into next week's show. That's one topic. I also wanted to just mention my daughter, who had a very sad occurrence. She adopted a kitten about a year ago, and did hear from the shelter when she, after choosing it, coming to pick it up, that it did have cat leukemia, which they said could remain dormant, might not have any issues. The main thing was she had to keep the cat away from other cats. Unfortunately, the cat in the last couple of days all of a sudden took a turn for the worse. We're not sure whether it was the cat leukemia, but today she had to put it down. So very sad day for her, and we're rather disappointed that we weren't at home in Atlanta to be there with her to support her, but we've been on the phone and on FaceTime a lot with her today. Very sad day for her. Okay, folks, I see that yes, the magic time has arrived. Time to pay the rent. So I will be back with you after these messages.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And welcome back. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately. We, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are on the road, coming to you from the Patrick Come Lately mobile studio, parked in London, Kentucky. And you know what? As we're on the road, we're going to bring in a little bit more entertainment, I think, this week. And one thing I noticed, especially here in Kentucky, as Obama so famously said, they do love their guns and their Bibles, and so I think this next song is probably a very good song to celebrate being here in this part of the country.
Deep in the heart of Texas, back in 1835, they drew a line in the sand. The folks at Gonzales had freedom on their minds. It was all because of a cannon that had kept their colony safe. But then General Santa Anna sent some Mexican troops to take the big gun away. You know what those colonists said? Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but we'll warn you, you'll have to pry it from our cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it one shot at a time. Well, that started a revolution that no one could put down, like a wildfire for freedom. It's burning even now. You see, even if you got an army, when all is said and done, you just don't mess with Texas, especially when it comes to guns. The Mexicans went home without that cannon. Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but we'll warn you, you'll have to pry it from our cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it one shot at a time. Now I know the Constitution, and it gives me certain rights that I will never, ever give up, at least not without a fight. So if anybody's even thinking they're gonna take my guns away, like the good old boys down in Gonzales, I got one thing to say. Come on, make my day. Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but I warn you, you'll have to pry it from my cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it one shot at a time.
So a great song there for this part of the country, even if it's kind of based on that Texas story. But I think the words apply here very much. As I said, just even walking around in stores, we went bargain hunting in a pawn shop, but also other places. Like I said, Bibles and guns, very obvious everywhere. Anyway. Let's get on. I think it's about time we got to news and views. And I picked up, a couple of weeks ago, I picked up an interesting little piece in a technical blog. And this kind of surprised me, and I thought, why would this guy be writing about politics? And I read it, and I thought, you know what, I want to bring it forward. Now, this is not necessarily an endorsement of Rick Perry, but I think it shows the sorts of things that people are looking for. And the person that wrote it admitted that, if anything, he's either kind of a middle of the road independent or leans left. So he said, Rick Perry's not really his style of candidate by any means, but just listen to the story. So he talked about he was going to be interviewed at a TV station, so he'd arrived at the studio a little closer to the time that he was going to be on the air than he'd intended, and he just thought he'd run in and do the show. But he found out that Governor Rick Perry was in town and actually was being interviewed in front of him. So his interview was pushed back a few minutes. So he sat in the green room, pulled out his Kindle, and started reading his latest book, Passion, waiting until his turn would come up. And then Governor Perry came out. Well, the writer said, I was thinking, here we go, another entitled jerk who thinks the universe revolves around him. And then he saw him do something unusual. He thanked the cameraman for doing a great job, something that the writer said he was a bit ashamed to admit he'd never done. And then he came over to the writer and introduced himself. They actually had quite a nice chat, no pretension. He didn't lecture me. He didn't act like some form of royalty, and even his staff seemed kind of embarrassed that he was just a really nice, regular guy. The writer went on to say we didn't talk about any divisive issues, but he wanted to chat about how difficult it had been to convince companies to move out of California to Texas, because California weather is so wonderful. He also regretted not being able to win the big megalithium iron factory for his state. Although the writer says, in hindsight, I think Texas will be glad to have lost that one. Lithium iron is on its last legs, and a huge plant to make batteries is really difficult to convert to anything else. After our chat, he smiled, wished us all good luck, and rode off into the sunset in a black SUV. Oh no, sorry. The writer says, I'm just making up this last part. So what he says, in the end, Perry reminded me that politics aside, and he admitted right up front that he didn't particularly think he agreed very much with Perry's, but he said there are people that you will and have worked for that make the job more rewarding, that you will likely follow any place they ask you to go voluntarily, and that you'll never forget. We don't spend enough time looking for them or trying to become them, and as a result we are surrounded by way too many jerks. And that's a very interesting one. I think that to hear from someone totally out of the political scene, and yet to see that Rick Perry seems to be a nice guy. And his comment there, right? People that you will and have worked for that make the job more rewarding, that you will likely follow any place they ask you to go voluntarily. Those are the sort of people that we need in Washington, because somehow I think most of the people there right now today are not like that at all. Now, is Perry the best person in the, I think it's 15 odd at the moment, that are up for the GOP nomination? Is he the best? I don't know, but I definitely think he's probably one of the better ones. Will he make it? We'll have to wait and see. Okay, folks, so let's go on. And a few minutes for another quick one. In the UK, the good news is they already have Sharia courts, and they have a Sharia judge, an official Sharia court with an official Sharia judge who has now decreed that the UK has no right to prevent Muslims from having more than one wife. So the Mormons are going to love this, because now we're going to reintroduce polygamy into the United States, because as we know, the regressives are just hot to trot on bringing Sharia law into America and saying, well, we've got to be equal, so if we're going to follow any laws, we're going to follow that one as well. Of course, you say, well, I thought the government wasn't supposed to get involved in religious issues and forcing any one religion on us or anybody else. So, that's really quite interesting how they decide that. Now, in the UK at the moment, polygamy is not legal. So while Muslims believe that they are allowed to have a polygamous relationship, these are not recognized by the government. And they sort of say, okay, fine, if you want to do that, but the government can't recognize it. And of course they would love to have it recognized, because now they can claim welfare benefits for right up to 4 wives and all of the children that these wives have, while at the moment only the first wife is deemed legal and only her offspring are the ones that would be allowable for welfare benefits. But hey, in the UK today, in the US tomorrow, folks, just be aware these things are coming. Okay, folks, I see that it's time for the next commercial break. I will be back. Maybe we'll have a bit more music again after this break.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network.
And thank you for sticking with me through that break. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately. And if you're listening live, please join us in the chat room. In your Spreaker little box there, there's a little icon, looks like a speech bubble. Click on that and that will open up the chat room, and there's lots of interesting chat going on. We've been talking about in the break quickly there, we talked about some alternatives to Rick Perry, some good people, and Mary mentioned people like Walker, Scott Walker, and let's see, let me just see who else she mentioned there. No, it's scrolled away, but we've got Scott Walker, Rubio, we've got there's plenty of good people out there, and so Perry's not the only one, but the question is, are we going to have an establishment person like Jeb Bush forced upon us? And of course we got into the Trump discussion, obviously Trump making the news because of the illegals. I think that's taken away a lot of the emphasis on his other kind of plank of his program, which is his negotiation skills and basically trying to get jobs back here to America. And I think that's an important one. If he were to make the nomination and if he were to get elected, and I think he could surprise a lot of people, then it would be interesting to see whether or not he really can bring back the jobs to America, because I think in a way he would be putting more emphasis on that than on the illegal issue. The illegals is a very good gets him a lot of attention, but I think the real thing that he wants to do is really make jobs better. But we'll see. Like I said, there's lots of good people out there, so we'll have to wait and see. However, jobs really is important, and after this next piece of music, I'm going to talk a little bit about something special that I found the other day about jobs. But let's have a bit more fun. Like I said, I'm on vacation on the road, so take a little bit easy. I'm going to have I've got a bottle of my own homebrewed beer here, my Pico Brew machine. I normally put them in kegs, but don't have space for that here in the RV, so I bottled a whole pile, and a number of them are in the refrigerator now. And I have to say, though I say it myself, it's pretty good beer. In fact, I don't really want to buy beer anymore because I think my own beer is better. But anyway, folks, a little bit of entertainment.
Taking my country back, putting it back on the right track. Corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I could hear them say, take your country back, my friend. You gotta take your country back. Get out of my way or slip on this train. I'm headed to my Washington house to let those suckers know on election day I'm gonna kick most of them on out. And shout no more high taxes. We want a free market system. We don't like socialism. See, we believe in capitalism. And we love our children, and we love this nation. So let's protect our borders and protect our freedom. I'm taking my country back, putting it back on the right track. Corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I can hear them say, take your country back. Oh yeah, son, you gotta take your country back. Take your country back. Oh yeah, you gotta take your country back. Now Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Quincy Adams too. If you could go to Washington one more time, what would you say or do? I'd say no more high taxes. We want a free market system. We don't like socialism. See, we believe in capitalism. And we love our children. And we love this nation. That's why we wrote the Constitution, to protect our freedom. So start taking your country back, putting it back on the right track. Now corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I could hear them say, take your country back right now. Yeah, you gotta take your country back. I'll take your country back right now. Son, you gotta take your country back. Oh, take it back. Take it back. And put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back. right track. Oh yeah, take it back. Oh, take it back and put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back, take it back, take it back, take it back and put it back on the right track.
And there, take our country back. Well, if we're going to do that, yes, we need to get the right person in the White House, and we need to make sure that we keep the legislature. Will it happen? I don't know. Hopefully we'll get the right person. Mary made the comment, and I have to apologize. The other person she mentioned, of course, was Ben Carson, another out of the Beltway candidate. She also mentioned we need a godly man. Right now, my concern is that with some of the more religious people, so let's say a Huckabee or a Rick Santorum, those that lean that way do turn off some of the people in the middle. Remember, we do have freedom of religion, not freedom from religion, freedom of religion. And I think the impression is, rightly or wrongly, that some of these people will kind of force things upon us in some ways. I hate to say it, but in some ways like the Muslims tried to force things on people as well. I don't think it's quite that bad. But I think somebody like a Scott Walker says, yes, I'm a religious person, but that's a personal thing. And I think that's a much better way to approach it. I think, and what I would say, Mary, is not so much we need a godly man, we need a moral man. A lot of that time, that means if they are a religious person, they will tend to have the morality that we need, and not the immorality that we currently have today in Washington and many other politicians, where they'll say one thing and do another, which is, to me, is just lying. We need a moral person who'll say what they're going to do and then do it, and whether you kind of like it or not. And there are not that many amongst the crowd of 15, but there are a few. Scott Walker's in there, obviously Ben Carson as well. I think Rick Perry as well to a certain extent. While they are also politicians, at least Perry and Walker, they are more moral than most. So those are things we need to be looking for. Anyway, but to come back and just to make one last comment about Trump, I mentioned Trump and jobs, and I think he would be very good for bringing jobs back to America. And this is why it's important, because Rush Limbaugh had something on his show recently, and he was talking about the latest unemployment rate that had been announced not so long ago. And he said 5.5 or 5.3, 5.6, somewhere around about that number. And he says the truth is it's increasingly meaningless, because first of all they release the numbers, then a month later they adjust them because they discovered that they were wrong anyway in their estimates. And the number that they're reporting, they call it U3, that's a certain category, and that's what they call 5.5%. Well, the U3 is a number that's only been in use recently, and it attempts to count people who are out of work and looking for a job. So if you're looking for a job and you're getting your employment benefits, they count you in U3. But if you stop looking for a job at any point, you've been out of work for 2 weeks, you stop looking, you don't get counted in the U3 number. Well, that's crazy. And if you've been out of work for 3 years and you've stopped looking, you don't get counted as unemployed either. So there is another one called the U6, and that's much closer to accurate. And it never gets reported, especially the mainstream media. That number is reported to be about 11 or 12%, and that number includes people who are out of work and have given up trying to find a job or aren't, for whatever reason, looking for work. But if you can eat and have a phone, a big screen or whatever, and do not have to work, what are you more likely to do, right? You probably just sit around. But that 11 or 12% isn't right either. But before we go there, I've got to keep the show running. So here's another commercial break, and after that I'll tell you that 11 or 12% is way underreporting as well.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now, and in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-424-3790 and get 2 bottles free. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-424-3790. That's 800-424-3790.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
Okay, folks, we're into the final segment of the show. I'd hoped to play a bit more music, but don't have enough time in this last segment, so I want to finish off this piece from Rush. I'm not going to read all of it. You can probably go to his site or go online and find it. But he was actually quoting from a blog that's written by David Stockman, who was a former budget director for Ronald Reagan. And he ran a bunch of numbers and has been able to look at the number of people actually in work, the number of hours that are being worked, and came up with the actual unemployment rate in the United States today. It's not 5.5, it's not 12.5, it's not 13%, it's actually just under 43%. Think about that, folks, 43%. Now, some of the numbers that he used to run and get to that 43% number, it sort of says, okay, you know, the potential labor force, how many people in your environment have an opportunity to hold a job and go work at it, right? So that's difficult to do. But what you can do, right, what you can do is look at the hours that are being calculated and worked, and look at the number of people available and the number of hours that they could work. And so then we get well away from that 5.5, from that even 12%, and that's why it gets up to the 43% people. Now, let's have a look. At the present time, there are 210 million adult Americans between the ages of 16 and 68. take a plausible measure of the potential workforce, roughly, right? Kids of 16 want summer jobs, they want weekend jobs so they can earn money, and people don't always retire at 65. So 16 to 68, maybe a little on the high side, but that's fine. That amounts to 420 billion potential work hours. I mean, you're assuming that everybody's going to work a full week. That's 420 billion hours, right? By contrast, in 2014, only 240 billion hours are actually supplied to the US economy, and this is based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates. These are actual government numbers. So if you say you've got 42 billion potential labor hours available, you only use 240, that gives you 43% of the people are out of work. They're not working to their full potential. Now, is that absolutely true? Even if we say, okay, well, maybe we take people from 18 to 65, reduce those numbers, you're still going to be up in the 30% in terms of what the actual unemployment rate is, folks. It's way too high, and that's why we need someone who's going to come in and focus on what really needs to be focused on: the economy, on jobs, and security. And of course, illegals is part of the jobs thing and is also part of the security thing, but that's not really the main issue here. The main issue needs to be the economy. And I hate to say it for all those who say, yeah, but we also need this and that and the other on the social conservatism side. No, we don't. We need jobs. We need money. I've said this in the prior elections. Let's get that sorted out first, and then we can have the fight about the social conservatism, about abortions, about same-sex marriages, etc. Let's just let that flow. Let's get down to what we really need, because otherwise this country will really go to pieces. Folks, it looks like we've almost come to the end of the show. Next one, hopefully, as I said, will be coming from Milwaukee. I'll just ask you again, if you like the show, please share this with your friends. Tell them the different places where they can get the show, which is radio.patrickcomelately.us, my website www.patrickcomelately.us, Spreaker. You can also go to TuneIn, Stitcher, things like that. Plenty of places to get the show, and of course, as always, archives.patrickcomelately.us, Red State Talk Radio, and the 405 media. And all of those rebroadcasters, my thanks to them for rebroadcasting me. Well, let's see, we're almost at the end here. If you want, email me at stefan@patrickcomelately.us with comments and questions. Love to hear from you. In the meanwhile, the music is starting, so I will say TTFN, ta-ta for now. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.